Happened to open the door for him.
No, he's
Yeah. Hi there, sir. We just arrived at the same time.
Yeah,
I think we got everyone that you called that week.
see what happens when you start.
I see.
Ready?
Yeah,
No.
that was-
No.
You like that?
I loved it. I love it.
What is this?
Special effects.
Just got a little delay.
Oh,
on
there you
it.
go. I think you might be too far away from the receiver. I can read it. Everybody else can read it.
Four o'clock, we have a quorum, call the meeting in order. First order of business, I guess it's my responsibility to inform us that Danny has given her notice. It's to the end of the month. Hey.
Yes.
So,
Yes, all that.
that important business is over with. Why don't we go around the room, we have people I don't even know. Trace?
Hi, I'm Tracy Barrier, formerly of the Cuba Economic Development Agency, now of MRB Group.
Taylor Science, I work here at CCIDA, CCIDA.
Danielle Zabo, CNAs.
Mark Giuseppe, project manager with True Green Capital Management.
John Patterson from Patterson Farms and Butte County Farm Bureau.
I'm No Siegel with True Green, working on the solar project as well.
I'm Aileen McCann Coleman, legislator, the chair of the planning department. Committee, I should say.
Kevin Ellis, CEO of Cuba Milk Ingredients and Cuba Marketing.
I'm Brad Olin, I'm with Highlander Construction.
Andy Reinflush, I'm on the board.
Rick Alvaro, lawyer for the IDA.
Paul Lattimore, board member. Herb Matt, Marshall, board member. Bob Shane, legislator.
Mark Chambers, CMS Engineers.
Ray Lockwood, chairman of the board. Okay, got that out of the way. Let's do abundant solar, please.
Solar. All right, yeah, thank you all for having us. Yeah, as I said, my name is Noah. I'm here today with my colleague Mark to give an update on the Cayuga County Solar Project behind Soil and Water. The site has started receiving materials, and we're planning for construction throughout the summer and into the fall, both to be up and running by late fall and start getting energy savings to residents in the county. In particular, we want to talk to the IDA about the local labor requirements and where we stand with that today. I don't want to rehash everything that's in the letter here, but I can give a really quick rundown of how we laid out staffing of the projects, types of expertise that we need to build a quality project, and where we've landed as of today with subcontractors. So there are four main disciplines that we need to build a successful project. The first being management. So usually people with several years of experience, they've done this role before. They worked many of the roles throughout the construction themselves, so they know it really well. And that's usually the general contractor is providing 1 to 3 superintendents, depending on the size of the project. Secondly, it's civil work. So if there's any road construction, essentially things related to stormwater management, really making sure that the site is safe and we can get where we need to go, we can get people and we can get equipment where we need to go on the site. Thirdly, electrical, as you can imagine, it's a solar project. This includes trench work. This includes wiring of the panels. This includes wiring of inverters, coordination with the utility, really detailed solar specific work. And then lastly, mechanical. Mechanical is putting in the racking. So that's driving piles into the ground. It's screwing all the racking components together. It's mounting the solar panels as well onto the racking. Those are the main 4 areas. So we selected Pfister Energy as the general contractor. We worked with them many times over the years. They are one of the top tier general contractors in the Northeast. They built hundreds of projects ranging all different sizes. They've built landfill projects, and they've done municipal projects as well. They have two gentlemen who are going to be the construction manager, superintendent, who live in New York. I believe that they are in either adjacent counties or one more removed from Cuyahoga County. These are folks that have worked with Vista for a while. On the civil side, Rasmussen Excavation is a civil contractor. They are New York based. They have posted job postings with the Department of Labor to try and get folks who live in Cuyahoga County. They primarily have folks who are 1 or 2 counties removed from Cuyahoga. This is people that they have on staff that they've been working with for many years, but they have put the job posting out there to see if they can, expand their network and bring someone in who's local. They usually only have 2 to 3 people on site. It's also not every day. It's just periodically throughout the construction, there's things that we need to do, like trenching, we do that and then they're done. But like road maintenance and stuff is just periodic throughout the construction. For electrical, John Mills, we've worked with them on a few projects over the past few years in Chemung County. They do have union folks on staff. They're estimating that they can have 10 people working on this project who are in Cuyahoga County that they've worked with before. They're going to see if they can get that number higher. They estimate they'll have about 5 other folks from neighboring counties or New York State that would also be working on the project, so about 15. And then lastly, and this is really the trickiest one, is the mechanical. So there aren't many mechanical, labor forces in New York State that are experienced with every type of racking. So this is pretty typical that the mechanical expertise is coming from out of state. We absolutely have had some people who are local working on the mechanical side on our projects over the past few years. But it's usually just still a portion of the mechanical, and it really depends on the contractor, the subcontractor, and the type of racking that they're installing. Right, we're trusting that they know how this racking system is going to work. Another unique aspect of the racking here is it is a tracking system, so it follows the sun. It's definitely more unique for us. This is going to be only our second one in New York State. The first one was just installed end of last year in the town of Skaneateles with a similar project adjacent to their landfill. And that's
That one in Waterloo, Science Falls must do that.
what's that?
One in Waterloo must,
Oh, Waterloo?
Yeah.
that turns.
Is it? It's up and running?
Yep.
So,
I don't know if it's up
Yeah.
running, but every time I go by there, they're in a different
different. All right, so
location.
it's working. Yeah, it usually follows it just slowly throughout the day. So there are a few new components with that. Usually, the beautiful thing about solar is there are no moving parts. We put it up and it's just electrical wires. In this case, we do have a few moving parts. We have this motor and actuator and the sensor that's following the sun. So it is a bit more detailed. I want to make sure that we have folks who are experienced with it. So that one was more challenging. The workforce as it stands is not from New York State. They are from other states, but the contractor has been doing a lot of work in New York. So he's very dedicated to New York State. I think there was about 20 projects that they've done, 100 megawatts, which is significant. It's about essentially 20 of this size project. This is a 5 megawatt project. So he's really experienced. He knows the tracking system. And we did look for local contractors on the mechanical side, and we want to keep it local. Vista does, and Soul Contracting wants local labor, but at this point, all the folks with this experience that Soul Contracting has is out of state. They just came off of a job that's about 30 minutes away from here. So that's where we stand with it. So there are a few local, because we don't fit exactly within the criteria of the agreement with the IDA. Want to bring this to you, take any feedback, and we did submit the local labor waivers. And we'll submit, every 90 days or sooner as we get updates from our subcontractors on who they're gonna have on site, as we fully mobilize. But yeah, happy to open up to what questions or comments anyone has.
So basically, very few of the construction jobs will be with the county. And then ongoing, there's no jobs for the county.
There usually isn't. So there's no one full-time on the site. We have two gentlemen who are based in Tompkins County.
Right,
And
it's
they
not Cuba
service.
County, right?
It's not Cayuga,
Right.
but we're always expanding our workforce because we're bringing more
But
projects
that's-
online.
But my question is, so the construction, there's probably no Cuba County jobs. In the long term, there's no Cuba
So
County jobs.
the
No, if I-
electrical will definitely be Cayuga County. It's Union and it's Cayuga County.
If I may, I think
Yeah.
you're talking once construction is relatively complete and, the long-term effects of work. And to your direct answer, yes, there's no work done on solar projects post-construction. The idea of these projects are to be self-sustaining. And it would be very, very minimal to a point that looking for any type of full-time employment for the project, it wouldn't make sense. You'd be spending money on someone.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm the most disagreeable of anybody. If you're asking us for a tax break for this, a pilot program for this, and the reason we give pilot programs is to create jobs in our area, why in the world are we interested in giving you a pilot program? And not gonna hire anybody from here? Hire anybody you want, but don't ask for a pilot program.
Sure.
I do have an idea about like long-term. We are interviewing people right now for operations and maintenance. These are folks with electrical experience. They drive around to our sites. These are full-time employees.
In this county,
Um,
in this
so
county.
we're-
You have a county electrician doing your
We-
electrical work right now.
We'd be happy to work with IDA to get a job posting. This would be a long-term, full-time position, and we're actively hiring because this system will need, we do both preventative and reactive maintenance, right? We're gonna go out there and make sure that the roads are well-maintained, that all the trackers are turning, so I'd be happy to look at that with.
Are you looking for something today?
I think it's the approval of the waiver,
Yeah.
The waiver?
because the local waiver, they did not apply for a waiver in their original application. And now they need a waiver specifically for the mechanical portion of the construction. So in the packet, they had talked about all the local labor and surrounding county labor that they'll be using for all the other components of the construction, but it's up to the IDA to grant them the local labor waiver. Specifically, what they're asking for is around the mechanical work. Because
What
every,
they're asking for today is a waiver for just to doing the
mechanical portion of that, correct, because
right.
every 90 days, they are required to submit their local labor numbers to the IDA in agreement to what they're doing for construction.
So if we approve the waiver for just the mechanical work today, that would be satisfactory and you're not going to come back for waivers for the other things.
Well, I think to that point, and what Noah was expressing, currently our environment is outside of the mechanical compliant with the requirements of the IDA. As we mentioned, John Mills is 100% of their force will be throughout New York, about, as you said, what did you say, 15, 20?
Yeah,
Or 15 total, so 10?
yeah, right now they have 10 in Cuyahoga County and,
And
yeah,
There's 10 inside the county.
Yeah.
That's not what
Electrical.
he said. He said there would be 10 in New York State.
no,
No.
I'm sorry, I was
That's what
speaking.
you said, Bill.
I'm speaking out of turn. 15, I was getting the number correct. I wanted to
Yeah.
confirm with my colleague Noah. 15 people, 15 electricians will be relatively on site. 10 will be in Cuyahoga County.
that's right.
5 will be roughly between adjacent and the state of New York.
I would move that we give them the waiver for just the mechanical.
Your second,
Second.
motion made, second, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Go do it.
No
Alright.
more waivers.
Yeah. I think the only other, I think for the civil, because it's not directly in Cayuga, because they're based in Tompkins. I think they also submitted the waiver for that. So I just want to make sure that that's clear from the submission.
No.
No, no more to that.
You can't see that far.
Where do you get our age?
Can't see the screen.
Okay,
Yeah.
is John on?
John,
Yeah,
are
it's
you,
Onondaga.
the last 4 digits are 7700. John, is that you?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
You're all set.
all right, so we'll get started.
You want,
We'll send you pictures of the construction.
whatever you want to do, thank you.
I'll follow up
Alright.
with you now.
All right, sounds great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You don't know?
Alright.
He's
John,
not answering.
They're not answering.
Is somebody asking for me? This is John, yes.
okay, great, all right. I don't know where we're gonna start here, but, so we're,
I'll get started if it's all right. I anticipate making a motion today that we allow,
Let these guys go.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't
Okay,
need this.
John.
All
thank
right,
you for coming.
that we allow the construction. company. Have a good day.
Thank you.
thanks a lot. All right, you too.
But what homework I've done, this was bid and the bid was accepted, I believe, on the 7th of March last year. And I've talked to Highlander Construction several times. The bid price was $910,540 for both cases. It's been over a year and they have submitted some increases. A major part of their increase was because the bid called for the wrong, you correct me, Tracy, the wrong number of feet.
That was a part of the pipe.
Yes, yes, there was about 1,100 feet of pipe that was not in the bid. So the numbers I've gotten from Highlander, I had them send directly to Mark, and he's gone over them and told me that he agrees with the numbers and that the numbers are very reasonable. They had anticipated increase in the cost of material, increase in cost of labor, fuel and maintenance on their equipment, and specifically an increase in the cost of pumps, as well as an increase for the additional 1,100 feet. If you add those increases together, it's about 188,400, which would make the total project 1,106,906. We have paid towards that 84,793 for the phase 1 that has been completed. And we have paid $88,480 for the pipe that they have stored for us. And at our last meeting, we had them order the balance of the pipe, which will do the other 1,100 feet. And I don't believe they billed us for that. Is that right?
You're right, we have not built yet, we have received it, we've been invoiced, so we'll be reaching out to you to be able to get that done here in the near future.
So if you subtract what we paid from the increase above the bid price, to complete the job, we need $933,632. According to the best I can figure out, to John and Taylor, we have probably $700,000 that we can use of our money. When we came to the meeting 2 weeks ago, Danielle thought that the county legislature was going to possibly approve a $2.5 million thing for the agricultural community. And I tried Aileen and I couldn't get her because I do everything on the telephone rather than like everybody else does. on Texas and stuff. So I ended up calling Hans Petcher to find out if there was a reason for me to go to that legislative meeting to support that, especially for the part for our sewer. And Hans in his way says, what the heck would you come here for? We're not going to do anything. He says it's not even on the agenda. He says somebody's going to come and talk about it, but we're not going to do, you come any meeting you want to, but there ain't no sense of it, but I'll put you on the agenda for the next Ways and Means Committee meeting, and we would be interested in having you talk to us about that. So when we get to, if you want me to go to that, I will. If you want somebody else.
Ethan is my designee.
What? I understand. And I also called the planning department and asked
Steve's
them.
on.
Steve's on.
Oh, okay. Hi, Steve. And asked them about the possibility of getting this. I probably don't have my initial CCDC grant to come up with the amount of money.
She's on the board.
And she, who I talked, I didn't talk with Steve, I talked with Susan. Susan, yes, and she said Tracy had applied for 400,000 and it had been approved and we never used it. Maybe I'm wrong, this was all over the phone too, but that she had applied for about 400,000 and Suzanne thought that had been approved, but it is no good now because it's been such a long time since we did that we need to reapply. And I had her send the application here a week ago to apply for that. So anyway, she thought because Tracy had applied and the application had been accepted, that there should not be a major problem with doing it again. And she said the funds are absolutely there. They have to go to a committee and the committee has to approve them. So
Is there a payback or is it a grant?
no, it's a payback.
It's a lot.
Steve has something to say.
Excuse me?
Steve,
Lynch had something to say, to correct.
I'm talking, okay, tell him to go right ahead.
Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you. I just want to clarify that it was prepared by Tracy and sort of generally prepared and presented to the CCDC Board of Directors. And it was discussed, but the application really wasn't followed up with. I think at that time you were applying for the EDA funds and it was a little up in the air as to exactly what would be required. So it was put on pause. It really wasn't acted on by the board.
I'm sorry, Steve, I thought after talking with her that they had acted, but she did say it had been presented and, okay. How long would it take to act on an application like that, Steve?
I think once we get a complete application, the board requires about a 10-day period in order to review the application and then obviously work through closing and so on and so forth.
how would this work? There would be a conflict of interest if John Letnish and Tracy are on the committee, but they're also part of the project. Would that be a conflict of interest, Steve?
John Latnishin would have to recuse himself from the deliberations.
Correct.
Tracy would have to recuse herself.
Somebody's on the board.
That would leave a 3-person quorum, which we would be able to take action.
Okay, Herb, how are you gonna pay the money back?
How am I going to pay the money back? I'm going to go and beg Hans Petcher for at least $1 million. I'm not going to get into his view on giving the agricultural community money because I'm not a legislator. That's none of my business.
Look at me, I want nothing to do with Hans.
And
Asking for money.
But I would ask, and I talked to Rick, I would not ask for money from their fund, but ask for a loan from their fund because I got Mark Callipy, our finance person for the water and sewer. He will be available on the phone if you want to talk with him. He told me absolutely that the 80% grant that we're applying for we can start the project and even finish the project and still be eligible to get the funds from that grant. So
Is that true?
That is what Dave Botar has said recently.
But there's still the question about rebidding.
that's part of the reason I'm trying to do this today. If we rebid that project, I don't know why in the world a good business person would want to spend $145 million in our park if it takes us 2.5 years to do a $1 million sewer project. So I think we should, this is me, I think we should award the contract, which has already been awarded to them. We should tell them they can start when they want to. We would, I don't know. We have two very important people from the legislature. If they think I'm going way out on a limb, they need to tell me.
Bob's closer.
What?
He's closer to you, Herbie.
It's right next to you.
But I would ask for the money from the county, from their, from that part of money that they have, but I would ask for it, I would work with our attorney and the county attorney to do it as a loan, not as part of the grant. And if our grant comes in, we would just pay it back. If our grant didn't come in, and I'm not supposed to say this, I would hope that they would forgive all or part of the loan that they gave us. That's my anticipation, but we have to put the sewer line in, period. If they're going to do,
But there's a precedent for it, because when the county kicked in the $750,000 to do the road for us,
yeah.
to track the milk plant, Kevin and John. So it's not unheard of. And the county keeps saying they want economic development. And it's right here in our backyard.
I think this is the biggest project we've had in many, many years. And
Since
I
the milk
think-
plant.
Yes, the milk plant plus this addition to the milk plant. And I think it's a worthwhile project, and I feel comfortable going to a means committee first, if that's where I need to go, and then to the Ways and Means Committee and try to get that. I just rounded off as $1 million because it would be nice for the whole thing, but we're coming up with I told you the $933,000 is what we're going to have to pay to complete this project, other than if there's some additional.
Yeah, some unforeseen condition occurs.
Yes, so it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million that we've already put $170,000. But anyway, I'm trying to go fast because I'm a little nervous about doing this. I would like to make a motion that.
Wait a minute. John, do you have anything to say? Wait, make the motion, then we'll get John.
I would like.
I want everybody to have,
Yeah.
I want it out and open.
Absolutely. I would like to make a motion that we authorize Highlander Construction to start it at their convenience as soon as possible, and to go ahead and they're here, they can buy, once we do that, if it passes, they can buy the pumps and stuff that we need. So that we have because we heard 2 weeks ago, how long will it take to get the pumps?
Oh, it's probably total to get that with all the control equipment, it's probably a 16-week process, I would say.
But if we don't get this started, and if we wait to rebid the project, we're a year away from doing it.
My experience right now is nothing is available. I went down to Gillespie's, did a little thing fixed on my door. And he had a folder that thick was truck sold. He said he has no idea when they're gonna get them.
We're very fortunate with this construction company that with them, we have ordered and we have, except in the last 1,100 feet that's not come in yet, we have all the pipe on hand and quite a lot of the other stuff that we need for it. If we rebid it, they would be crazy to, I shouldn't say that. Why would they rebid it when their bid price is already out in the open and their addition to that bid price is out in the open? Everybody knows, everybody knows.
Your motion is for a notice, basically a notice to proceed.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. My motion is notice to
Yeah,
proceed.
authorized notice to proceed.
Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Thank you. Discussion, John,
Hey, Ray, yeah, thanks, Ray.
you and I had
You
a
hear me?
conversation. I want to make sure everybody knows what's going on here.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh, okay, good,
I
thanks.
can't hear good, so that's good.
Yeah, so, I agree, for me, I agree with what Herb is saying. And there is a sense of urgency. What I hesitate about, and when Herb and I spoke, I'll bring it back up again. It's how we pay it back. And I would be in a better position if we had, we were supposed to be doing, a memo of understanding, or we might use a different term, where the users enter into an agreement where they will pay us back at a certain rate for a certain number of years, and we don't have that agreement yet. So we're building a sewer line, but we haven't received the signatures for the people that will be using it. So we don't have a way to pay it back. Option one is for us to use all our funds. Herb is correct. We have about 700 and some thousand. That would, and should anything else fall through, we would be left with no money unless we did a project or two down the road. So that is my concern. It's about the cash. I'm fine with the firm. They've done well standing and waiting this long. So I have no issues with the firm. I have no issue with the price. I just have an issue with, or concern with, what happens if everything doesn't line up and we've got to tap into our own funds to pay for this project, and the county decides they don't want to give us the money, and the EDA thing doesn't come to fruition. So those are my concerns. I will also say up front that because part of the funding could come from CCDC, I will recuse myself on this vote as well. I would recuse myself if the request goes to CCDC for the funding. So I figure I would do it on both sides.
John, thank you very much. John, the ones that might not know, is a banker for his real job. And he's concerned about things that probably all of us should be concerned about. But me and Ray in the agricultural business, we get too concerned about money, we don't do anything.
Yeah, my wife has warned me a million times on that one, like my farms.
Right.
I could prepare, step back. Doug Selby did prepare industrial park sewer cost assessment proposal.
Back when we first applied for funding, we applied for it through, what was it, Tracy? It was going to pay 50%.
So we have secured 20% from ESD. Originally, when we were going to EDA, it was a 50%. Now EDA is up to 80%, correct? So.
But at the 50% one, we were in the shape that we kind of are in now. We needed to figure out how we were going to do that. The balance that was not going to be covered by the grant. And Doug Selby had put together a system of how we would charge the different users for that, and I had him email that to Rick.
Yeah,
Go
and
ahead.
this board actually approved Doug's industrial, my recollection was there was a motion to approve the
Yeah.
proposed CCIDA industrial park sewer cost assessment proposal dated March 23, 2021. So I could draft up whether it's a easement agreement or memorandum of understanding with the two parcels that are built out within the park. I could get that out early next week, no problem. If that's what the board, if the motion passes and the board wishes me to do that.
So I'm trying to understand, I'm an ex-banker too. Where's the money coming from? Let's say it's borrowed money. Where's the money actually coming from?
We have approximately $800,000 that this organization has.
Okay.
That's all that we have. We felt between John and our personnel thought that we should keep at least 100,000 of that. So we were thinking about putting $700,000 into this. And we've already put the 160,000 into it. And this loan that comes through the county loan program that would be the balance of doing it. But if we get either the grant that I'm going to ask for from the county or the loan from the county, I want to put the proper term. The other grant is the federal grant that we have applied for. We continue to have to resubmit the application because they come up with new things. The last meeting we had, they would not accept our application because the water and sewer department had to be on it because they're going to be the owner and operator of it. So we passed that motion 2 weeks ago to add them to it. So it's resubmit, but it's easy to be optimistic, but it seems like we really are in good shape to try to get that grant. And if we get that, then we're going to end up with somewhere near around 20% or a little bit less, Tracy, you know.
The ESD grant is 20%, the EDA grant, so there needs to be a 10% equity for ESD, the EDA grant would.
So that would save just about all of it, so there would be no. if
Right, I knew that was the
the
original
very
plan.
worst thing happened, we would have to some way split the cost of it between, and Doug's proposal was you and the other plant plus the other parcels there that are not being used. All of them would go into a formula that would determine who would pay the part.
Yeah.
Did I
So,
answer your question or not?
yeah, I'm gonna throw another idea on the table, and I'm glad Tracy's here because I met with ESD last week along with Andrew Fish. We're gonna put another application in for ESD help because projects twice as much as we thought, and we're gonna hire twice as many people. So I wonder, would it be possible for us to add this to our grant application, Tracy, and try to grab some more dollars that way?
ESD's already funded this project, so I suspect they would be hesitant to fund it twice. But it's a conversation that could be had. It's a question that could be asked. Couldn't hurt to ask the question. But they would be 40% in at that point, and I think that would be concerning to them.
Yeah, but I'll use the word backdoor. We can backdoor into it though. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're gonna be the users, we expect to pay for it. So if you use it, if you take something, a loan over 30 years, it's really only 15 cents per 1,000 gallons. Herb, I can back into that and we can make it
One way or
work.
another, you're gonna pay for it, pal.
I know. So,
That's what he's trying to
so I'm just trying to figure out what the loan looks like. And if there is a loan,
Well-
we don't get the grants, we end up with a loan. It's not the end of the world. I don't want to pay it all up front because we've got a lot of unexpected. I'm sure we're gonna hit cost overruns and I just.
Right. But hopefully, if we don't get the 80%, we should be able to get the other grant.
Yeah.
So the cost should be, especially like you said, for 30 years, should be pretty minimal.
Right, that's the goal. I just don't know who's managing this long term. That's
The
the
water.
Cuyahoga
and
County
sewer.
Water Sewer Authority, so
Yeah.
they'll have some sort of a maintenance fee. I hope the maintenance isn't though there.
It should be very minimal, because,
You'll have pumps. The pumps will be the big maintenance item
yeah,
from our experience.
yes.
I would agree.
There's no issue really typically with the pipe, it's the pump.
Further
Should do its
questions,
job.
Elaine?
So can,
Donna?
this is John.
Wait a minute, John?
Yeah, can I just follow up? I mean,
Sure.
I agree, a long-term loan, I mean, the burden on any one individual won't be that much, I don't believe anyways. But it's the upfront, so keep in mind, if there was, there has been and there is an approach to CCDC, we're talking about a loan. And the first question that's going to be asked is, what do you have to repay the loan? How are you going to repay that loan? And that's why I brought up the question of the agreement where it's signed that can be used as evidence that the loan can be repaid. And there's a system in place to repay it should it come to a loan, having to get a loan. So if the grants fall through and you've got a $500,000 loan, how is IDA paying that back on a monthly basis or whatever that may be? That's the question for me. I mean, all the parties in this transaction are good. I wouldn't have any concern about any of them, but what's going to be the response when the question is asked, how do you repay this loan?
If we have to get a loan, I think Kevin Ellis, who is here with us, John, is willing to pay his part over a long period of time for the balance that we have to.
Well, what we really should do is get Doug Selby's agreement out there and signed.
Yes.
And get all the parties to sign.
Yes.
Then you can use that as evidence, we have a means to pay the loan back.
Yeah.
I agree.
Whoever's on the line will have to backstop it. Us think of it,
Yeah,
and that's
right.
probably it, right?
Well,
I don't know who else is gonna go on the line.
The IDA will be used for the vacant lots. So we'll have
I
to pay
would-
that.
We'll attach it to the vacant lots. 'Cause-
I think that's Doug Selby's proposal.
all right.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well,
there's
and
nobody
then-
there to pay it.
Well, the IDA would have to until we sold the lots.
Well, when this is completed, we turn it over to water and sewer.
Yeah.
See, it's tough to put it on a vacant lot. I don't know if I would go that route because you don't know what kind of discharge they're gonna have. You may not get the math to come out right, because we're gonna be a heavy discharger, so.
There's yeah,
That's what we're
there's
hoping.
there's usage in
Well,
capital.
well, I don't wanna be, but unfortunately, we will be, yeah.
So under that agreement that Doug put together, as I recall, there was kind of a base per parcel, like per acre fee. And then there was kind of a usage-based fee that obviously put a lot of it on the main user. And then I don't know if there was any usage assigned to the vacant parcels. I think it was just the base.
It's
as I
just the
recall.
base, yeah.
Okay,
So
that
it's
makes
a
sense.
minimal.
So I moved to amend Herb's motion to include Rick in that document out this week and signed off.
Can I ask questions? So is that the formation of a sewer district,
Next week, sorry.
correct? To where the users within that sewer district have a usage fee that they pay and it's based off of the loading that's put into the system. I would think that even the empty lots would have obviously a much smaller charge.
Well,
benefit to
The
that.
only thing I would say is Doug's already done that work.
Okay,
The board's already approved it, so let's not replow the
Perfect.
field.
all right,
Well,
But thank you for your.
and hopefully the last won't be vacant long.
right.
Yeah.
We're going to get the money to do this. We should worry about where it's coming from, but
That's why I want everybody to have a say.
Yeah.
So
we're going to get the money.
we're responsible for this money and
Yeah.
I don't like auditors at all. Okay. Experts, Steve? Jason? Opinions?
You're asking me, Ray?
I am.
So it looks
I'll walk
like,
out of here and have somebody say, I should have told you so.
thank you, Ray. It looks like if the IDA uses her proposed $700,000, you have a balance of approximately $233,000 that you have to cover to do this project. So that's the gap to me that you're trying to fill. The CCDC can do a bridge loan, but John Latnition is right, and I know my board, they will ask, how will that be paid back? If there is a mechanism that Doug Selby has identified that can sort of show how that is paid back, and if there's an opportunity to look at that with an eye towards any kind of backstop by the principal user. I can't see in the screen, but I can hear Kevin Ellis is sitting at the table over at the end. That would also help. I don't think that the CCDC is in a position to do a long-term loan of 25 or 30 years, whatever the life of the pumps are. It's very difficult for an institution to carry a loan that long, rather than commercial.
We're looking for the last maybe 5 years
Or less than that.
yeah, I think we're just talking till the grants come in.
Well, we're praying for the grant pretty hard.
Right.
Yeah, the initial intention when we first went through this process was that the loans would be 5 years and would really just be bridging that time till we got the grant reimbursements. So there might be a few payments that are due in that time, but really when the grants came back, that would get paid off and then reimburse the IDA for their upfront investment. And in the case that if there was a gap from the funding, like say EDA funds, 60% instead of 80%, that's where this agreement becomes the backstop for the cash flow to pay the loan. If for whatever reason the grants that come back don't pay the loan.
So basically, we're looking for 5 years.
At the most.
That sounded to me like what CCDC was comfortable with
Yeah,
when we were going through the process originally.
that's my recollection of the original discussion. Does that help, Steve?
It does, and I think that the CCDC was looking at the grant as the most likely repayment mechanism. But I think the board members would ask what happens if the EDA doesn't come through.
Right, so we've got the two mechanisms, and the term we're looking for is 5 years.
Steve, could you remind me where you got the original money for the lift station before we came?
The original money for the lift station was ESD funds, I believe.
Right.
That was a grant.
Further discussion, questions? Roll call. We're not doing this by voice vote.
Mr. Westwood,
Trick, anything in before we? Yes. Let's do it, and get it done.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Ms. Spino,
Is she on?
Gina,
She's- She's muted.
put down the list.
Mr. Rhinecliff,
Yes.
Mr. Shea,
Yes.
Mr. Latnition,
I recuse myself.
Mr. Lattimore.
Yes.
One abstain, and all those present voted in the affirmative, carried.
Gina,
Gina,
Yes, I can't.
thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's fine, thank you. Okay. Tracy's not here by coincidence. I've asked you to be here. She and I had a conversation.
Good.
Yeah.
You with me here? Herb?
What?
Tracy's not here by accident. I asked her to be here and with some disruption with our staff, Daniel leaving, the sewer project. I thought that I would have her give us a proposal. That it's too much for, I can't handle this kind of stuff, and I don't know if Rick maybe, if I don't have somebody that I can rely on. And I don't have time, I have complete faith in her anyway, so. Trace, if you want to tell them what we talked about a little bit.
Yeah,
Nothing behind it, just conversation
just-
she and I had.
No, just the idea that, myself having some history with the project and now being backed by a firm of 100 architects and engineers that I can rely on, that there may be a role for me to come back and provide some project management, not replacing what Mark is doing with construction management, because I still don't want it. But just coming back to do some project management around this project. So Herb also doesn't have to do quite as much.
He's
Make so
enjoying
many
it.
phone calls, unless you want it. So we just had an initial conversation, the way that our firm would handle this would be to do an hourly not to exceed. So we would pay you for the hours actually worked each month, and then we'd set a timeline to it. And once we hit that max number of hours within that contract, we would come back and say, look, this is where we are. Like, do you want us to continue doing this, or are you good now? And that way you're only paying for the work that you're getting on a monthly basis, and we're not over committing capacity. So I imagine this being 10 to 15 hours a month of project management. So we'd be looking at, I think I said 1,700 to 2,500-ish a month. But that is understanding that the full scope is not totally clear at this point. So if this is a relationship that the board is interested in, we would submit an official proposal and look for some more clarity around the level of project management or the scope of work that the board is looking for.
I'm extremely pleased that Tracy's available to do this in the situation that we're in now. I think, are you doing it with us or with CCIDA?
It would be with CCIDA, the contract would be.
It would be with us.
With us, yeah.
Not with them.
No,
Okay,
and it wouldn't be with her, it would be with
with
the company.
My concern after she leaves, how do we do the function that we need to do without an administrator? In your role, you can't do the things that she does as far as running the organization.
No,
And which brings us to the point that I complain all the time, and I'm really happy that we got that motion done. That's a huge relief to me.
you can still call me every day.
But
I think we're very close to hiring somebody for that position.
But-
However,
we've been.
it's gonna take a while to get the person,
On board.
know where to switch, light switches.
But we've been from August till now. And nothing gets done, and we have
I've been
another,
part of the problem, and I keep pushing them, but Showtime, she's been with me, I mean, it's frustrating, I don't wanna get into it.
but
because-
we have a number of other things that are coming up that needs to be addressed, I think, and maybe Steve Lynch knows, I think tonight they have a meeting in Conquest over that huge solar thing, and that's a huge, it's 300 million or something project, it's a, who are we
You
going
probably won't
to
hire anybody. either.
to deal with, dealing with that?
Hopefully, our new person, but I brought her here tonight because I know I can rely on her and I trust her, and hopefully you don't have to do anything, I just said, hey, this is more than I can handle.
No, I'm in favor too. Do you need a motion or do you just want to wait for?
Well, that's up to the board, but
Don't we need a proposal first, like, go forward with the proposal? Bring us a proposal, and I think we're in favor of the proposal, and then before the proposal, you could help get this application to CCDC.
He'll call you.
That would be a
Me and Ray are gonna have to pay you to do that, but
I need somebody in place.
I think we're in favor of that. We have a meeting in 2 weeks, and we'll get that, and she'll be here for that length of time, and we'll get that done in 2 weeks.
I'll work with Tracy to get a proposal for the regular meeting agenda for this month,
Yes,
so you guys can make an official vote on it, so it'll be in place before I leave at the end of the month.
okay.
So that's more than enough time for Tracy to.
That's a question. I recognize this was happening. Once you called me on Friday, I made a few other phone calls. So Tracy, you're gonna be limited in your scope, right? You can only oversee the project for the sewer project.
Yeah, well, the scope of the proposal and the contract will
Think that's-
limit the scope of my work. yes.
Yeah, so I'll throw this out there. I don't know what anybody will think, but I did meet with Andrew Fish last week and as soon as I learned that Danielle was leaving, I called Andrew Fish and I said, would Center State CEO step in for a while and provide help, right? I don't even know what that looks like, right? But you guys know better than I do, and they would be willing to provide that assistance for
Yes, I know
the gap until you find
I know they
somebody.
would, but the problem is, they want to take control of everything, and I've been reluctant to go down that path.
Is there a way to limit their ability to do that? You limit their scope?
Once they start eating the animal, they seem to consume it all.
So just wanted to throw that out there. I understand what you're saying, Ray.
That's what the executive committee has discussed that in length.
Yeah.
If this is the way our board, the CCIDA board wants to go, then I have no problem, but
I was just looking at it as a stopgap.
yeah, I agree. I agree. But
Let's see how things develop.
Develop.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We will- if Tracy can-
do we need to vote?
I agree.
Okay.
We anticipate having that ready in 2 weeks.
Sure.
And then
No,
we'll-
I've looked at it. There's fiefdoms in all.
I feel a lot better knowing that.
Tribal.
Okay.
You're not, I know.
She called me up and she just begged me, she said, I gotta get back in the sewer.
I can see.
Thank
She
you
said
for
this was
helping.
her favorite project she ever worked on.
Okay,
So Ray, could I jump in with one
Sure.
request?
you can jump in with 2 or 3.
Just one today. Before we get into any of the land purchase or anything, I'll pass this out. We really want to look at digging some test holes to see how much bedrock is out there, because I'm pretty
Learn from the last time.
I'm pretty sure this guy over here. So when we get into the wooded area,
Hey, John, I don't think you and I need to do it. Don't do it.
Nope.
I'm pretty sure there's a reason that he's not farming the land that we want to build on. So we want to get in there with an excavator and figure out where the rock is.
You want permission to dig test holes.
Yes, and
I move that they have permission.
well, so we probably have to have some sort of an indemnity agreement with the CCIDA. So we indemnify you and we agreed to restore the property back to its original condition.
Can you do that?
And I mean, you've been talking with Justin.
Yeah, but Justin said I gotta wait, I gotta get it in the LDA, and our engineering team is like, whoa, that's gonna slow the project up.
Did
Can we-
Andy leave? Oh, somebody left. Okay.
So that's my request, if we can get out there with Vitale and
Yeah.
dig some holes and see if we gotta bring in dynamite again.
Hey, Rick,
Yeah,
you guys are cutting out, but, is there anything we need to sign? To, as far as insurance or anything else? It might have been mentioned, I just couldn't hear it.
I think we have to provide you with insurance to,
yeah, you probably have to provide the.
Right.
Yeah, the motion should be some conditioned upon, an executed agreement approved by the special counsel and myself.
Okay,
Yeah,
nobody's made a motion yet.
yeah, exactly, but if there is a.
No, her move died second.
Okay,
so you're looking at on the map, if you look kind of left side down the page, there's squares, that's where they want to dig the test
Yeah.
holes.
you want to read the motion back so we know?
Yeah.
I need to know what the motion is.
That's exactly why I want you to read it back.
I make the motion that he has permission to dig these holes. He's going to provide insurance for us that meets John's concern. Plus, he's going to do an agreement that he's going to put the property back in the condition it was before he digs the holes.
It'd feel better if Mr. Galbato would send me what you guys require
Yeah,
and
so
then.
it'd be I guess the motion would be to allow for test pit digging pursuant to a map.
On lots 1 and lots
Yeah,
5
Lots
and
1 and 5 on a map dated 3/28/22. Subject to an agreement providing for indemnification and insurance and any other matters.
and restoration of
Yeah, restoration of
the
land.
whole.
And the approval of our lawyer.
Yeah, to be drafted and approved by special counsel and council.
That'll do it.
Can you send this to Justin? Copy me.
Yes.
Motion made, seconded, is there any further discussion about digging up our property? Okay.
Not yet.
Well, it's all wooded. That's why I'm saying that there's a reason it's wooded. You'd be farming it if it was really good farmland.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Anything else, Kevin? Move right along. Want to bring up purchase?
I can delay that till our next meeting, really.
We want to just lay some facts out. You and I had a preliminary discussion.
Yeah, so,
Neither one of us went far.
no. No, we had two different
I went on
values.
vacation, you stayed around.
Hey, Ray,
Sir,
I'm sorry, it's John. Can we go into executive if we're gonna discuss the sale? Or any contract?
go move. Your second?
Rick, can we discuss this if it's not a special meeting?
What was the notice say?
It was just for,
Other business. On favor? Oh,
Aye.
it is, because you're not, it's not on here. So for a special
Didn't
meeting,
we
just-
form-
Go into executive session.
Come
You
before.
should say.
It did,
Okay.
yeah, she did.
It affects you.
I do, yeah.
Do you know Tim at all?
Tim Carpenter. Good to